All right. I am so grateful that you are here today for this workshop. This is actually my first AI specific one that isn't directed at music education. I've been in the world of music education for like 25 years. I've also done a fair bit of business consulting. So this isn't, I haven't been exclusive to the music industry, but I also haven't really done a lot of work like this outside of the industry. So I'm really excited to be building this new brand and this whole new thing. So the agenda for today is we're going to address some basic universal issues that people may have with AI. It's just really important to know a little bit about what it can do, what it can't do, the capabilities and all that kind of stuff before getting into the tools. So then we'll drop into the essential suite. I have one, two, three, four, five tools queued up, as well as a handful of honorable mentions, which is the third part. And then in the fourth part, we'll talk about some bonus, and if there's time, we'll have questions at the end, or we can just finish. But I was trying to time this out earlier, and I was being way too verbose. So it was definitely the recording was going to go over an hour. This should be a little more timely. So I'm Elisa Jansen Jones. And like I said, I've been an educator and serial entrepreneur for more than 25 years. I'm a certified AI consultant. And I literally wrote the book on how to use AI. It was recently published. I did this book because I'm passionate about helping people use AI and use AI better. So if you're like, I mean, obviously you're here, which means that you want to be learning more about AI, and I put it into this book. So everything from how to recognize when AI is hallucinating to how to identify if somebody's used AI, you're like, I don't know if this response is AI or not. There are some telltale signs, and they're in the book. I cover everything from ethics and safety protocols and data management, all in the book, as well as a ton of great guidance for prompting. So, highly recommend that. Also, this list is obviously not comprehensive. There's new AI tools coming out all the time. This is my curated list of tools that I think are going to be great for most people to use. We're not going to be talking about prompting or how the models are trained or any algorithmic stuff or anything like that. This is like basic toolkit. All AI tools do come with some kind of risk involved. I'm going to address that next. And again, it's important to know what you're getting into before you type into that very first chat, which I don't think a lot of people are actually doing. They're just jumping right in, which is fun, but there are some important things to know. Not all of the features that you're going to see on my screen are going to be available in everybody's account because I have paid accounts, I have pro accounts, and I'm often a beta tester for new features and things like that. So, in at least one of the systems you're going to see today, you're probably going to see new feature, beta test. Because I'm an AI expert and I'm in the top like 2% of users, they do send me new things to try it in advance. So, you may not see those on your own. And again, all the important stuff is totally in the book. All right, so number one, here are some universal issues that everybody should know about AI before you type into that very first box. If you haven't figured it out already, AI is not trustworthy. It does not have human taste and judgment. It truncates responses. It's very repetitive and it likes to people please you. That's also on this slide. They have such a bias toward the positive unless you tell them otherwise. I'll show you how I've set up my chat GPT to kind of help minimize that response. But it wants to please you so much it's going to make stuff up. Those are called hallucinations. So it cannot be trusted. You should never just copy and paste a response without reviewing it on your own. It is limited to the data that it's been trained on, and the different models, the different tools are trained on different data. And sometimes that data does have bias or it can be old. So keeping that in mind, it also can diminish your cognitive abilities. If you're using AI to replace your creative muscles rather than strengthen your creative muscles, that is a risk that you're taking on. I see AI as strengthening my creative muscles because I never ask it to replace my thinking. I ask it to advance my thinking or question my thinking or give me lots of options so that I can then use my critical discernment to determine which option is the best, or if it excluded options that I as a human think are important to include. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It should be your creative partner, not your creative replacement. Data privacy is an issue if you're chatting with ChatGPT about something that you really wouldn't want a lot of people to know. It is probably going to save that and update its memory so it can recall that later, which may not be something that you really want it to be doing. I'll give you an example when we get into ChatGPT. Remind me if I miss it, but there was one that I actually just started. It was a workout plan and it updated the memory. It's like, okay, Elisa's asking about a workout plan, which means that she's going to be doing workouts, right? And you think that's fairly innocuous, but it does save that and update its memory. Also, data creep is a real thing. You can give it one prompt, and even though you go back to the next chat, it forgets. It also kind of gets kind of wayward. I can't tell you how many times I've had it critique or offer me suggestions on academic writing, and it uses some academic terms, but it uses the same terms over and over, or it lacks in clarity because it always starts the sentence with the word this, and I'm like, don't start the sentence with the word this. It forgets, even if I tell it to remember. So there are some risks with using AI. Um, I will say I am not, and I realize we just have Tiffany here today, which you're awesome. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat, and I'm going to wait and get to them at the end. And whatever I don't get to, because this is kind of a lot of content we're covering, I will make additional videos. So if you're watching this in the replay and you have questions, you can send an email to support@jonesco.ai, and I will also make videos to answer those questions. All right, so let's get into the meat of building your AI suite. The very first one is ChatGPT. Of course, most people use it. It's a great all-in-one solution. In fact, the first three that we're going to be talking about do the bulk of, like, they have a lot of the same features, and then it's just minor things that make one superior over another. ChatGPT does include DALL-E and access to Sora and a new opportunity for creating and writing code, which is pretty cool. Some of the expert features we're going to be looking at are the different models, custom GPTs, FTWs for the win. Of course, I'm a big fan of custom GPTs. I'll show you some that I've actually written. You can train it for the different types of output you prefer, or rather set it up in the settings for that. You can use it to check other AI outputs. So if you use another model like Claude, for example, you can take that output and put it into ChatGPT and ask it to assess it, which is pretty nice, or analyze that response. And you can use the API to connect to other tools. I'll show you how to do that. And it can be used to make apps as well as setting up tasks. So here is a opening screen for ChatGPT. I see that I'm in model O3. These are the different models that you have to choose from. I don't want to use O3 for this because that is the most advanced reasoning model, which means that it's going to use a lot of energy and a lot of power. But the nice thing about O3 is that it is going to show me its reasoning. A lot of times people are like, well, how did ChatGPT get to that answer? You can actually tell it to show you the reasoning. Show me how you're getting to this answer. And it will show you the step-by-step process that it came to. O3 does that automatically. I don't really want to use it for this particular demo, so I'm going to change to O4. And each of these models do show you. You can see here I have a research preview. To 4.5, but they are telling you exactly what it is that that specific model is good at. And you're going to have access on the free account to most of those. If you haven't already gone into the settings and customized ChatGPT as well as set up your settings, I recommend that you spend about 5-10 minutes going through that. Let me just show you what I mean. I have told all of them that let me to call me Dr. Jones because I'm at the end of my doctoral process and I'm helping this manifest me into Dr. Jones. So I like that it calls me Dr. Jones. I've asked it to do so. I tell it what I am and what I do, and so it knows how to customize my responses that way. This is where I told it to omit unearned compliments, critically evaluate my ideas, question my assumptions, flag cognitive biases. Okay. So I'm telling it how I want it to respond. I can also click on any of these. I want it to be chatty. I want it to be witty. I can tell it to truncate responses, get to the meat of it. I can say, if ever you're creating a list of bullet points, make sure that that list is comprehensive. Otherwise, it will default to like 5 bullet points, right? Because it's trying to save time and space and get you what you want without overwhelming you. I haven't added anything else in here. I've kind of left it to this. And then advanced will let you tell it what capabilities you want it to have. And you can do this in custom GPTs as well. I, of course, want access to all of the capabilities. And before I forget, I didn't have advanced voice mode on our list of expert things, but it is one of my favorite features. I use it on the ChatGPT app all the time, especially if I'm on like a long drive or I'm trying to strategize something or I want to know more about something. I can just open voice mode and it's like having a conversation. And then you get to the end of a 2 hour drive and you're like, wow, I just had a 2 hour conversation with myself. Like it's pretty entertaining. So get in there and customize your chat GPT. And then settings, the important ones are your data controls. So you can know if you have this one on, the improve the model for everyone. I have that off because that's going to share my chat data with everybody. Like not that Corinne over in Texas can see what I'm chatting about, but it's going to use my outputs and my inputs to continuously train the model. And it's just a privacy risk, so I go ahead and turn it off. And then you can rapidly archive or delete all of your chats, or if you archive a chat, you can see it there. While we're talking about privacy, most of them are starting to add a temporary chat or a hidden chat option because they found that not everybody likes to have their entire uh, panel full of, chats which may or may not be private or interesting, right? So you can use temporary chats. Also, a lot of them are going to have additional tools. Claude's, I think, is going to be a little bit better to show you. But within the chat window, just explore some of these tools and see what the basic capabilities are. Um, you can actually connect some of them to additional software like this. Right now, I have ChatGPT connected to my Google Drive, but you also have all of these options. And this is saying that you can share information back and forth. So if I connect it to my Gmail, I can actually have it give me a summary of my email inbox and tell me what am I missing? When was the last time that this one person chatted with me or sent me an email? It's really, really helpful. All right, that concludes the like basic setup. Let's talk about some of the more fun, sort of advanced things. Oh, by the way, your library is not your library of chats. That's your library of images that it's created. So custom GPTs are basically where prompt engineers like me have said, I want a version of ChatGPT that does a very specific task. So this is one that I created for a client, actually. I wanted them to have hands-on information through this chat-based interface about their musical instrument products. So I've populated this with their catalogs, with comparison charts that I created, with a bunch of their instrument information. And then I gave it some rules. I said, you can't talk about competitor information. Don't talk about pricing information. Don't talk about like all of these other things that I didn't want it to specifically do. And then I said, when you respond, like you can use musical puns, right? So it just kind of makes it a way for you to customize to a very specific point. Another one is my daily accountability buddy. This one, I actually gave it a very strict process to follow. So the user clicks the button and it's going to prompt them through a series of questions. And I built it based on my own sort of, mentorship and coaching approach. So there's a whole library full of these custom GPTs that people are creating and adding for you to be able to access. And this is a link that's available on our all the things link sheets. So let's say that I want to make a cake. I bet there is a cake recipe one. I bet there's 10. Okay, there's more than 10, right? So each one of these has been created by a user for a specific purpose. If you want to, know more about cake recipes, if you want to have a cake recipe that uses specific ingredients, that's what these GPTs are designed to do. They're your customized version of ChatGPT using that interface. One of the other great things about these is that they can use a specific set of information to pull the response from. We call that a RAG, a retrieval augmented generation. But there's an even better one that we're going to look at in just a minute. All right, so that is kind of, let's make sure that we covered all of these. Oh, tasks really quick. This is one I just set up a new task for this one. I wanted to have a daily gratitude practice journal. So I just gave it this prompt and said, can you create me a daily task to journal? The journal entries should be prompted by you with gratitude prompts. Send me the task reminder daily at 8 p.m. So I have another one. And then, of course, it created that. Got it. I'll remind you every evening at 8 p.m. Mountain Time with a fresh gratitude journal prompt. Okay. I have one that happens every single day, which is my AI news summary. So every morning at 8 a.m., ChatGPT delivers to me the latest surprising AI updates, which I can then turn into blog posts or LinkedIn articles or YouTube videos or really just to, stay on top of things myself. Leverage the different models. We talked about that. Custom GPTs. And there we go. Let's move on to our next tool, which is Claude. And I first realized that Claude was the ethically trained one when I asked it to coach me through firing an employee. Okay. And I know Corinne's like laughing. The goal I wanted, like, I needed to move on. And um, anyway, and it was like, I'm not going to coach you through that. Like, that's a really sensitive topic. That's something that you really need to like figure out in a really human way. And it gave me like some tips, but it wasn't going to coach me on it at all. And I was like, oh, that's really nice to know. There are some ethical safeguards already built into some of these. So it's also a great writing partner, strategist. It connects to Google Suite. Some of the ways that we're going to talk about how experts use it is leveraging the different models, just like with ChatGPT, there are different models you can tap into. Generating code and troubleshooting and viewing code is one of the ways that I've used this, where something's not working on my website. So I access the code and I tell Claude to troubleshoot it. ChatGPT's code thing will do that as well. Codex will do that. And then interactive artifacts are my new absolute, hands down, best thing that Claude does. I love them. All right, so here we see Claude also calls me Dr. Jones because I've told it to or asked it to. It has a lot of the same settings that you'll be able to see. You can tell it personal preferences. You can, obviously, I'm exploring additional features in preview mode. You've got privacy. You've got connectors. Same thing as ChatGPT, it will connect to these things. Not as many, but I think it does actually a better job when it comes to the G Suite stuff anyway. And then I didn't mention this with ChatGPT, but we can pop back into it, where you can organize your chats based on projects. Here they call it projects, and in Claude it's also called projects. So that's just one way that you can keep all the information together. Like here's my book, right? So there's a summary of my book. Here are the different chats that I've had about it. I can add additional instructions like always produce the outputs in a way that it sounds like it's coming from your favorite college professor who is extremely witty and smart, right? And then it will make all of those outputs in this project meet that criteria. Another example is for one of my other companies, Music Teacher Guild. Here's all my stuff for Music Teacher Guild in one place. This is a project I'm working on for a client. Obviously, I can't talk about it. Um, Here's my book. Oh, I already showed you that one. Okay, you get the idea. Projects. Same thing here. This is the band I'm on the board for, and this was to help me analyze the output of a strategic plan survey. So hopefully that makes sense using projects like that. These are chats. These are all my old chats. Start a new chat. And then you can see what I was saying here about all the different tools being displayed a little bit better in Claude. Here's the different models and what they're good for. Usually it's just going to default to the one that it thinks is the most efficient and best for you. We're not going to need a lot of complex challenges at this point. This is where you can add different files for it to analyze. All of these are what we call multimodal, which means that they can analyze text, images, PDFs, spreadsheets, PowerPoints, like it's pretty much any type of file that you can upload, it's going to be able to analyze, with the exception of video. Not all of them can do video very well, except for Gemini, because it's Google, it's YouTube, it's intended for that purpose. You can use this for research, and turning that on is just going to make sure that any output is going to have a citation along with it. And then you can help it customize the experience that you want to have if you're trying to learn stuff or write stuff or code stuff. Or you can have it analyze those apps that you're connected to, right? Like analyze my email communication style. Am I being too verbose? That's probably my biggest problem with that. All right, we've covered chats, we've covered projects. Artifacts are my new, like I said, favorite thing. And what they are is basically Claude can not only code you something, but it can produce it. So I wanted to create for this workshop a interactive artifact that allows you to find the right AI tool for yourself. So I've given it some requirements. I wanted it to limit it to tools we're talking about today. I wanted it to use check boxes. I wanted it to consider some of these things. I wanted it to give me an attribution at the top to my company as well as a link. I wanted it to have this type of functionality. So it's in this way, it's very similar to a custom GPT, only instead of me creating the chat experience and setting up the rules, I'm literally creating an interactive sort of like a page, like a dashboard. So let's let it go ahead and draft this thing here. There it is, writing the code. While it's working on that, all of these, if you prompt them to show you their thinking, they will, which I found to be very helpful, especially if it gets to like some output that I'm like, wait, why did you come up with that? That doesn't make any sense. Um, Also, I'm a big fan of prompt sequencing or prompt chaining, which means that you're asking it questions about the output that it just gave you. So if it is giving you consistently like 5 bullet points, 5 bullet points, 5 bullet points, and you know, because you are a human of intelligence, that there's more than 5 bullet points for the vast majority of outputs. So you can just ask it, like, was your list comprehensive? Was your list thorough? Are there any items that I should include on the list that you didn't already include here? And if you don't want to trust that model, that AI, and let's say that your outputs from ChatGPT, just copy and post that into Claude and be like, hey, Claude, here's a list of blah, blah, blahs, like social media posts that I want for the next 6 months. Can you analyze it as a social media manager and tell me what am I missing, right? All right, so here it has drafted our little tool for us. Isn't that cute? Oh, I even had it include emoji. So if let's say that I want to do writing, I want it to just do structured documents. I want it to connect to Google Workspace so that I can automatically save it to my Google Drive. And I care most about current information. And so now it's going to recommend Gemini for me. Ta-da! ChatGPT gets second place and Claude gets third place. So based on which checkboxes you check, it's going to give you an output. I would show you 1,000 more of these. Actually, I've only created about 10 myself. I did one that shows the timeline of my career because I have so many overlapping elements that I think that's hard for people to like really grasp when they're looking at a resume. I'm like, they're like, but you were the conductor of the band at the same time that you were working for this company, that the same time that you like had a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, I did all of that at the same time. So I had it create me an interactive timeline so that you could actually see the different ways that my career lined up. So similar to custom GPTs, there is a big library of these that you can learn. So if you want flashcards to practice your Japanese, you absolutely can. Okay. They have life hacks. They have games that you can create. It can generate QR codes. It can, oh my gosh, this one is disturbing. You enter in your birthday and it shows you how long you've lived in weeks. No, it's super crazy. And then you can customize it because they're all like open source. They're all, created by humans. So I could actually go in here and if I said, I think that's kind of creepy to show me that I'm only going to live to 75, right? Like show me that I live to 109 because to me that's more realistic, right? I'm super healthy, guys. That's why. Anyway, so Claude, like I said, absolutely one of my favorite things with and experts are using the interactive artifacts. So hopefully you can find that to be very valuable. I also created the instructions in we'll just share the whole doc of the AI tool suite handout that includes the Claude interactive dashboard builder there. All right, how are we doing so far? Is this helpful? Useful? Good. Okay, so the next one is Perplexity, which is the ultimate research assistant. So this one is going to give you the most recent information, daily news, automated updates, superior citations. It's kind of your like go-to when you want to stay in the know about things. Um, we're going to look at the Discover page, collaborative spaces, and templates. So just like with the others, the first thing you should always do is get into your account and customize it. You see that this doesn't have that little temporary chat option like the other two. It does have incognito mode, which should feel very familiar to the Chrome landscape. And then go ahead and personalize it, set up your preferences, like do all the things. Tasks are similar to exactly what we did in ChatGPT, where I wanted it to give me like an update regularly. Obviously, we're not signed in on my pro account. Discover. Well, no, let's go through the chat window first. So you can have it help you with deep research. It's great for scholarly research, especially. And some people think, well, I'm not like you working on a doctorate or a master's or whatever. You still should value scholarly research because it's going to help you determine if something is truthful or not. Also, if you're writing any kind of article, it actually really helps, even if it's just like a blog article, an opinion article. Anytime that you have an academic citation, it's just giving you more credibility. So don't think of it as, oh, well, that I'm not writing an academic paper. You can still be justifying and improving your own prowess by using scholarly resources. So this is giving you all of these kinds of options. You can look through those. I wish we could go deeper. I feel like I could do a 2-hour thing just on Perplexity because there's just so many amazing options. Voice mode, of course, is going to talk to you. Oh, before I forget, this is a really fun thing in ChatGPT. It will talk back to you. So if you give it something, let's say, um, like these outputs, if I'm trying to learn something, I want to read it and I want to hear it. So you can just
All the files
push play
uploaded
on
by
it.
the user have been fully loaded. Searching won't
You
provide
probably
additional
can't hear that,
information.
right?
Absolutely.
You
Here's your
can't?
long form Instagram reel caption in the Jones&Co voice.
Yeah. So sometimes to me, it just makes more sense in my head if I listen to it and read it at the same time. That's also really helpful if you are trying to analyze the response for humanity, right? You're like doing a check to make sure that it's actually accurate. These are just sort of prompt starters to kind of get you thinking about how you can use Perplexity. But the spaces are kind of like the projects that we saw in ChatGPT and Claude, that they're just a way for you to organize your chats. The Discover, you can actually, because this is based on like, we want to give you the most updated news and we're your research partner and that's what Perplexity is about. We're going to have citations on every response. We're going to make sure that there's video and there's articles and everything is supported. So you can create your own custom dashboard based on the things that you are the most interested in. Obviously, for me, I'm very interested in AI and online education and a few other things. I have a client right now who is in the trading space, like in financial trade. So building a discovery dashboard specifically for him that has, market outlooks and the types of information that he needs to be able to stay up to date. But you can customize your own dashboard and then it can send you notifications once a day or twice a day for any kinds of updates on topics that you care about. So, like I said, Perplexity, 100% your best friend when it comes to research. All right. Oh, also, side note, remember how I said you can take an output from one and pop it into another? You can take a chat GPT output and put it into Perplexity and ask it to find citations to support that output. Also very helpful to determine if something is true or not. It can actually be like, nope, this is a hallucination. All right, so Notebook LM is different from the others because it's not what we would call a large language model. It does have a chat sort of interface, but this is really designed for you to create your own custom library and then have conversations about it. So, for example, I created this notebook. I've populated it with a bunch of these sources. This is what we would call a RAG, a retrieval augmented generation. So I've put in the resources that I want it to pull from. I can also discover additional resources. You can see it's a combination of PDFs, some websites. Here's my book. So you can add all different types of documents and videos and websites. And then you can have a meaningful conversation about it. So what's the biggest risk to jobs based on AI updates. And it's going to go through those sources and talk to me about it. I can also create a mind map. I can have it generate a report, a briefing document, or a study guide, or an FAQ, or a timeline. I can have it generate a video overview of it, right? So let's say that I'm really interested in jazz music and I want to know more about the foundation of jazz and the way that jazz has changed over the years because I'm going to be on a radio show talking about jazz and exploring the different subgenres within jazz. I can populate all of the jazz information that I have in my textbooks and websites and videos and lectures and blogs and put that all into sources and then actually create a video overview of it. Download that video and upload it to YouTube. And now I look like an expert in jazz music, even though I am the farthest thing from it. It can also create an AI podcast. So if you wanted to practice, I don't know, speaking Japanese, I'm going to keep coming back to that for you, Corinne. You can actually have it create you a daily Japanese listening podcast to practice. And then, of course, you can add notes to things. So if you're not happy with a specific mind map and you want to update a report, this Notebook LM has become like the number one study tool for people in universities. And I know it's going to catch on because I'm going to write a book about it, right? About how to use AI to learn things better. So that is a very brief sort of overview about Notebook LM. Oh, you can also collaborate. If you have a pro account, I think you can collaborate, meaning you can, team up on a project. I could see that bit being very interesting for teams and corporations working together. And then just make sure that you go through and, update your settings, um, all of that. Okay, we're actually doing okay on time. I was so worried. I'm like, I'm gonna talk so slow. Um, okay, and we did talk about custom audio podcast, summarizing and synthesizing. That's pretty much all that it does. And then custom daily updates. All right, so a few honorable mentions. Gemini, of course, because so many people are in the Google landscape, even if you aren't using it for work. Most people are actually using it for not work. It's great at all the things that Google is: real time research, real time updates. Because, oh, this is fun. No thanks, I don't want you using my information. Are you going to make me? Okay. It can do deep research, which is nice because of all those reasons that we already talked about when it comes to research. Here's where you see its different models. It doesn't have as many, and that is okay. Gemini's super special power is that multimodal understanding. So being able to suss out from videos what a summary might be or what, multiple videos might be. And then just like with the others, it has this opportunity to publish some use cases that are very specific. So, for example, these are called gems, right? With ChatGPT, they're called custom GPTs. Um, Claude has that interactive artifact option, um, but this is gems are basically Gemini's response to that. Okay, so they are going to do the exact same thing as a custom GPT. Grok is another one that's sort of a runner-up. You can see a lot of the same features. This one is kind of fun, a little bit different in the lingo that it's using. What do you want to use it for? Do you want to have a conversation with a friend? Do you want to have it analyze that sore on your arm? Do you want it to be like a therapist? Do you want it to be an unhinged comedian? Okay. So Grok is a little less academic and more like playful and has a lot of great features. Like you can listen to it talk to you. I have it sending me a daily gratitude journal reminder. Okay. You can create projects with it, organize your chats into projects. So, a lot of the same features because they're all competing with each other. So, how you determine which tool is best for you depends on which tool, like, that you really want that sort of specific output. And another shout out for my book because it goes through the Calm AI Navigator, and the C in calm is always clarity. So getting really clear on what type of output you wanted. Like going back to my timeline of my career, right? I could have had Sora create a video about that. I could have had ChatGPT use Dolly to try and create an image, but I wanted it to be interactive. So I used an interactive dashboard that I used Claude for because the others don't really do that. So, if I wanted to have a custom GPT that just talks about me, or some some notebook LM that I've populated with all of my resumes, all of my books that I've written, all of my blogs, all of my podcasts and everything, then I could actually have people access that notebook to learn more about me, right? It's pretty interesting. Here is Grok tasks. I think this is a lot better than what ChatGPT can do, by the way. So if you do love the idea of being notified about certain things at certain times, Grok is a good one to do that. Kind of makes sense because it's X, it's Twitter, right? Okay. So Copilot is basically Microsoft's answer to Gemini, right? It's built into the ecosystem. So if you do want something that's going to summarize and analyze your Google Docs, that's going to be Gemini. You want it to be more active in Word and PowerPoint and Excel, that's going to be your Copilot. I have tested those out a fair bit, and I honestly haven't found them to be excessively helpful. I feel like I get better, faster outputs from the first three tools that we just talked about rather than the built-in tools, but they have to do it, right, to stay competitive in the market. So that's why they exist. If you are interested in more about Grok Copilot or DeepSeek and why you should use them, that's what these QR codes are for. I actually created a chat that's like, why should somebody use you, Grok? Why should somebody use Copilot? Media generators are getting a bunch of press these days. These are all ones that I've used. There's also one that we've used in my company that is not on here. It's called Visla. It's right here under 11 Labs. And these can do some really uncanny things, but they can also still look super fake. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's so realistic. But if you know what to look for, it looks pretty obviously fake. I've done a few of these of myself. Like I used Sora to create a GIF of myself walking through Paris. I used HeyGen to create a video of myself like talking with somebody else's voice. It's creepy, but it doesn't look real. Like if you're a person of human taste and intelligence, okay? Adobe Firefly is great because it will produce four images instead of like a single image output so that you can select which one is best for you. I did not mean to click that, but we just did. So that's what Adobe Firefly looks like. Uh, Here's what we covered. Universal issues people have with AI, considerations you should know before you ever type into a chat box. We covered the Essential Suite, which is ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Notebook LM, and then those honorable mentions. And then bonus tools and next steps. We talked about a little bit briefly about those image and video generators as additional tools and what they can do. Um, Also, 11 Labs is great for audio stuff. Like, I really like to have things read to me in case you didn't get that, because I feel like for myself, the multimodal learning approach works really well. Maybe that's because of all my years in music? Probably. Um, anyway, so here are the next steps, right? Follow my instructions on those things. Always set up your settings and preferences first to make sure that you're protecting yourself and that things are set up exactly how you want. And then go in and explore some of those expert use cases. They're super fun. They do usually, as you saw, require some sort of pro level account. But once you find one that you think it's going to be super useful, like I don't think I could live without making interactive artifacts now. I'm making them so much, I'm using them so much because it's not something that like I can code and make on my own, and instead I can have Claude code and make it for me, right? So I definitely am going to invest continuously in those. Perplexity has been incredibly helpful as I've started to generate more and more AI content because I want to be able to cite and reference other people's work. It helps continuously legitimize me. So that's why those are essential. Also, we have a Facebook group where I can share additional information and like discounts on things and upcoming workshops. So if you want to continue on this path of learning more AI, that is a great place to go and collaborate. It's brand new. I think we have like 27 people in it. So really helpful to get in there and share. And then, of course, get the book because truly I believe that learning how to use AI is the most important skill you will learn for the rest of your lifetime. Maybe not the most important skill from the past to here, but definitely from here moving forward. It's just going to be part of our lives.